The purpose of life, right? The purpose of life, of your living. And the key part, of course, we've gone over is awareness itself, which is the reality basis, the really bedrock of what is life. Because that's the continuum, is awareness itself. You look at the history now, and you see millions and millions and billions of species that have come, lived for some duration, and died. And they all had awareness. They all knew they were alive. They all were alive. They were just in a form that did this and had to do that, and they were the activities of that form. And in that continuum of millions and billions and billions of species who are all born here, living for some duration, and dying here, you are just another one in that long continuum of form. A whole variety of forms, massive amount of variety to the form. But the key was reality. You're born here, live for some duration, and die here. So it really is showing you that the form aspect is temporary. And that what you do is based on, well, you got this form. A cat behaves like a cat. A gazelle behaves like a gazelle. A grizzly bear is like a grizzly bear. A sheep is like a sheep. You know, they do their thing based on their form, the activities of their form. But they're aware of being alive. In other words, they have awareness. They have the same awareness of awareness that you do. So awareness of awareness is the key to know in life why you got this form. You could say that awareness is actually life, not your form. Because what is the continuum has been this awareness aspect. Going through everything, all different shapes, forms, for millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of years. That's the continuum. Awareness itself. Everything else was these things that have been made up, have been the things of, because humans were ignorant and didn't know. Why is there a flood? What's an earthquake? What's a volcano? What's the Black Plague? They didn't know, so they made up. And they said, well, there's this big thing, see, it covers, it knows. And it's on top of it, it has a plan. In fact, let's make it even better and say, since men at that time were dominating the relationship of men and women, and say, well, then this it is really a man form. He. God is he. Well, that's ludicrous. Right away, that you can tell that's just made up. Made up. And you sure don't want to keep dragging that stuff around with you here in the 21st century. They're myths. All their various superstitions and myths that are still tied in their little dark age book that justify repression of women, repression against gays, that justify racism, bigotry, prejudices, that define little boxes to live in and say, oh no, you can't live, ooh, if you get outside that box, ooh, you're going to suffer. Oh gosh, yeah. And you're supposed to believe it. You're not that anymore. That was back then when they were ignorant, illiterate. They didn't have Hubble Space Telescope photos coming in to show them how big, massive this whole thing called universe is. The Earth isn't the center of the universe. It's just another planet around a sun, of which there's billions and billions and billions and billions of others. You weren't made in the image of some entity sitting over there. You're just a form. Just like a dinosaur was a form. Because you looked. You didn't keep believing the myth and relying on ignorance. Humans looked, investigated, analyzed, studied. Again and again. And all they did was wipe away the myth of religion. All those myths. And what do you end up with? Reality. You're born here, live for some duration, and die here. Just like the whole lineage of living species have done for billions of years. Amazing. So it isn't the form. You got the form for some duration. And you got this human form, right? It has some capacities of the activities. And because of that, also this form and your intelligence and whatnot, you can actually directly experience and know awareness itself. The real thing of life. You could say awareness itself is life. That's life. Because that's what really is, continuous. That's what's continuous. As nebulous as it is, as much as just like air as it really is, well, that's the fact. It sure isn't your form. Your form is temporary. Just like it's been temporary for all these other species and all other humans. They were born here, lived for some duration, and died as well. So your key of living and knowledge and purpose of life is to know awareness itself. Clarifies everything. And it also says, look on the what you could call the relative of your daily life, the activities of your body, the activities of society, the culture. What your activity should be through this time that you do have this form. Well, it's pretty obvious then. You take care of the earth, because it's the earth that's feeding you, that's giving you the air to stay alive. It's the earth that's your priority, so that you can keep living, so your kids can keep living, so their kids can keep living. They have good food, they have clean air and water, they have health care. That becomes government, because it's about you, like it always should have been. All the way through history, it should have been you first. Not business, not corporation, not king, not dictatorship, all that crap. You are the first thing. Like it says right there, we the people. That's what the real thing is. So you sustain it, you keep it going. For you, for your kids, for their kids, and in there, naturally, because of awareness itself, and quite easily shows you, is equal rights. Because you all are born here, live for some duration, and die here. It doesn't matter what little ethnic you are, what part of the world you live in. It doesn't matter if you're homosexual or heterosexual. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's equal rights. There you go. There it is in a nutshell. The purpose of life. You know reality, awareness itself. You can say you know life when you know direct experience of awareness itself. Because you know, clarifies that everything else, all your forms are the temporary thing, and it's always been a temporary thing. It's transitory. And in seeing that, you got to say, well, then what do you do while you're here? You be a benefit to others. Environmentally sustaining. You cooperate together for mutual benefit under equal rights. With you being first. Not corporation, not business, not bankers. Not one religion over another or something like that. Nope. Equal rights. You're first. All of us together. There it is. The reality of life. The purpose of life. See for yourself.